Okay, so in this episode I'm going to assemble the bottom end. I've already got the sealing for the gear shift shaft. We've got the locating dowels for the crankcases in, the dowels for the gearbox, the retainers for the gearbox, and we've also got the dowel in for the crank. On the bottom crankcase I've fitted the seal for the gear shift shaft. I've also fitted the oil pump and I've put the splash plate in. The first part I'm going to fit is going to be the gear shift shaft and the forks. The forks are held onto the gear shift drum with these dowels, and they locate into the tracks for each fork. The bigger part up to the groove goes into the fork, the smaller part sticking up, and they're located with an R-clip that goes in from the back side of the fork. The next part to install is a gearbox, and this can sometimes be a bit fiddly because you've got to align this dowel, your forks and the retaining ring. So you want to locate these forks in the sliding gears, the grooves in the sliding gears. That's in. And I've also fitted the seal on the output shaft as well. It's okay, I read it like that. Now it's the input shaft. Then we've just got our push rod seal to put on the end. I've seen people putting sealant on these before, but it's really not necessary because the hole in the crankcase is actually slightly smaller than the seal. So it will always kind of clamp on the seal. So the next step is to fit the crank. And you want to be a bit careful in case that any of these bearings kind of slide off. make sure the rods are free. And I'm going to try and locate this. That's it. That was easy. So we've got the dowel that goes into the crankcase located. So then we have to locate these ones. So all the oil ways are in the top, run round about sort of, I don't know, maybe a third of the way round. So that's your oil hole there, so your dowel will go in there. Or at least it should go in there. I've oiled all the gearbox, and I squirted oil through all the bearings, and I had the chain soaking in oil for the last couple of days, so there's oil everywhere. So once you've made sure all your dowels are in place, your crank's in, the next thing is to fit the retainer for the crank. When I checked the manual for torque settings, the torque settings it gave me when I converted it to Newton meters was anywhere between sort of 24 and 33, which I thought was quite a wide sort of spread of torque. But so I think what we'll do is I'll go pretty much bang in the middle and set it at 28. Might be wrong, it might be right. I think, to be honest, it ain't going to make too much of a difference. Right. Nice and free. One thing you should do, just while I was on it now, when you're torquing up bolts like that, you should check your manual to see where it tells you to lube the bolts with oil or moly, or where to fit them dry. Because if you're torquing something to, well, we torque this to 28 Newton meters, if you were to grease or oil the bolts, it changes the clamping force. So you're actually tightening it further than what it should be, or creating more clamping force with the same Newton meters of torque. So it's always kind of worth checking. So for the crankcases, what I use is this. It's 3 Bond 1207B. We call it black paste. And you just want to apply a sort of a thin little film of it. You're not trying to butter your toast up or anything like that, just a little thin. Make sure you get the lid on that fairly sharpish, or it will set. That's a nightmare. There you go. Just a nice tiny thin layer. It's wise to go over the surfaces in your top crankcase just to make sure there's no oil residue, because the black paste doesn't like it. Whoop. So I'll put these ones to the same torque as put the crank retainer, and then the 6mm threaded ones I'll just do by hand. I never ever torque them. I keep bashing this bloody stuff. I found that they're so small you can't really get a feel if you're using a torque wrench on them, so it's just something I've never ever done. it's quite unnatural to be stayed out to the side doing this rather than being right above it. So I've just chucked this in my engine stand and flipped it over. Now I'll just finish off the crankcase by tightening the 4 bolts at the back. Again, I'm not torquing these, just done by feel. Okay guys, I'm going to wrap this one up here. On the next video I'll be doing the gear change mechanism, and then we'll look into see what we need to modify to fit the primary and the clutch to suit the new oil pump. Cheers!